moving on to requests and inquiries of council members.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to go on record this evening and tell Bébhinn I apologize. I know that you and I agreed on a lot of things, and we disagreed on some things. I've been on this council for many years, and most of you know me, and I dealt with Mrs. McDonald for quite a few years. And before this time, we didn't have a problem with Mrs. McDonald on anything that we've done. Came after later, and I don't want to get into all the details, but when she came in and told us the stories that she told us, which becomes a lie, it became a lie, and we know it's a lie because of things that are going on. But after I'd heard all these things, I disagreed with the resolution, and I voted against the resolution to just give them $10 million. And quite a few other things I voted against. And I do want to apologize for Bébhinn for that, and I appreciate what she did while she was here. The second thing is that about the pilot, our town attorney is already checking on the pilot, and so hopefully that maybe we can bring back some ideas or some other information on that in the near future. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a few comments related to the EDA. In our last work session, I did ask this, and I wanted to reiterate it and continue to ask it until it happens, and that is I want to go on public record of asking for a special joint meeting between the Board of Supervisors, Town Council, and the EDA Board. Many of you may or may not know, but based on the comments that I get to see in social media, that these independent bodies are not collaborating and discussing the issue as a group. And I wanted to just go back on a little bit of the timeline, but first I wanted to comment on Mrs. Rowland and Mr. Ager. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to, at the time, Councilwoman Ager, for all the information she brought forward related to the EDA and the transactions that were going on. I want to thank Mr. Ager for his relentless perseverance and continuing to bring to our attention the problems that were happening at the EDA. I do regret that action didn't come sooner, and particularly as I hear Mr. Ager recount the actions that I was able to be a part of and witness for Councilwoman Ager, it does make me feel really bad, and I do, from my point of view, I extend an apology that was the case, because I was there and I remember seeing it and feeling it, and I did not know enough information to be able to act accordingly. So for that, I do apologize. Going forward, I think it's very important to clarify the timeline of events. Why am I asking for a joint meeting, and why am I clarifying that we are not communicating together? I think it's important that people know that, because Town Council isn't getting the credit for, even though it didn't act faster, Town Council was the one who instigated what I'll call investigation of the EDA, and that started in early last year, culminating in May, when our finance director, BJ, was noticing a lot more discrepancies in our accounting, in our loans, and our repayment options with the EDA. I think it's important to bring that up because May 2018, we started forcing the issue. Nothing happened, and in August, we launched an official investigation of the EDA. The town did. Launched an official investigation of the EDA, and only then did anything start to transpire in the offices of the EDA. I can't tell you what, because we're not privy to it, but shortly after that, audits were done, forensic audits were done, outside counsels were hired, a resignation of the EDA director happened, and still no information has been shared with town council on what's transpiring and going on. I'm not aware. Maybe the Board of Supervisors knows more. But this is a public body that's been behind closed doors, that I know my colleagues have asked for a meeting where we're able to be updated and understand what's going on, and we've been shut out. There's more information that has gone on that hasn't been reported to the public, but again, I want to go on record asking for the joint meeting. I think we need to be as transparent as possible. I think the governing bodies of this town can work together and overcome whatever it is that has happened to our EDA. That has not happened as of yet. So I'm making a formal request. I'll make it again at next work session and the work session after that until it happens. But I am in favor of making everything as transparent as possible to the citizens of Farm Royal. I won't have another chance to say this, but again, I really do appreciate Mrs. Rowland and Mr. Ager for coming forward. I know you've taken the beating for it, but I still am hopeful that there's resolution in sight, and that this won't be years more of discussing what has transpired. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Two thoughts occurred to me as the gentleman was speaking. Yes, I knew about the workforce housing. I was told that it was a donor that was going to provide the land, which gave us the proposition to move forward, and we had buildings designed while I was on the EDA board. That is the information. When I first retired, I started substituting and taking a look at school teachers. And you're all aware now that we have an abundance of young teachers. And the first thing I noticed, being a retired Marine, I found out that classroom management has a great deal to do with education. And a lot of young ones do not have classroom management. I also found out that the young teachers were not staying in Front Royal. A significant amount of our tax dollars is moved to Winchester, Stephen City, and other places that provide housing. I even looked into how we could substitute or provide a service to the teachers to keep them stay in this community and keep our tax dollars here, because our school board budget has a lot of tax dollars that goes to other places. On the second issue, the first year I am rather quiet, and I tend to look and listen and learn. And I kept this sheet of paper for a reason, and I still got it. If you remember, I was the one that held the project sheet up and said, how are we going to pay for this? That was very evident to me in my first year. At that point, our staff took a strong look at where we were. We also took a strong look at the new market tax credit. And you saw the actions in our resolution, what went forward to define to you, to the public, exactly the actions we took by date. But I hold this up again. I chose to take a stand because I couldn't see where the dollars were coming from to pay for all these projects. Now, that's my issue. And sometimes we have to face the facts. That's where I am. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to thank Bébhinn. I've been looking for you. Couldn't find you on Facebook for that. You changed. But thank you so much for your encouraging words, and thank you for everything that you did with the EDA. After you vacated your seat, I did interview for that, and as part of that, started like binge listening to all the town council meetings, and it was bad. And you took that like a champ. You know, you didn't back down, and I appreciate that. As far as the pilot, we're looking into that for sure. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I speak?
Hearing none, moving on to the I was never under the intentions of quieting you or putting words in your mouth. But as we moved along, we were told different things and it sounded great. And we took and drank the Kool Aide. Thank you again for everything you did for the council. And thank your dad, Mr. Eder, for coming and speaking to the council. Please accept my apologies also.